no, 3 viewers. 3 live viewers. Sorry, I didn't think anyone was coming, and I was messing around, sharing the video. Thank you all for coming. I see that there were some comments in the live chat posted. I think it was yesterday when I was going to go live, and then I changed my mind from Machine Lies, and I wanted to highlight that one because it's actually quite important who we categorize as a Jew. I have sent Vincent, who has views on Jews, the link to this stream in case he feels like joining us. We know that he has lots of things to say about the subject, and he has, I know for a fact, said that he doesn't regard practicing observant Orthodox Jews as Jews. Therefore, he means that the people who do not, Jews who do not observe the Sabbath, are, as far as he's concerned, Gentiles and do not deserve to be called Jews. But who officially is a Jew? This is a matter controversial even amongst Jews, because you have Jews who are Reformed Jews, and they are regarded as heretics by the observant Jews, because the observant Jews think they shouldn't have altered the Torah or diluted the principle of what the Torah is, and regard them as heretics, and even make jokes about whether if you're a righteous Jew needing a place, needing in a storm to seek shelter in, should you go to the church or the Reform temple? And the answer is go to the church, even though it is further from Orthodox Judaism, because at least in a church you'll know that you're definitely not in the right place for proper worship of God. But if you, as an observant Jew, go into a Reformed synagogue, you might think you are in the right place, but it would in fact be a place of heresy and blasphemy. So these are the kind of jokes that Jews would make about each other. And I suppose the question arises as to which Jew should we regard as the proper Jews. And this is, again, difficult because, okay, if we were being rational, obviously the practicing observant Jew should rank higher than the heretical Jew. But because a Gentile is mostly atheist, then the kind of Jews he meets would be, like him, atheist. And this means that the perception of who is more righteous and powerful is confused. So currently, the idea that secular Jews are more powerful than religious Jews is of course true. It is true because the Gentile can only see things through his own perspective, and the lens through which he sees the world is liberal. And as you know, liberalism is secularism, and if you're a secular Gentile, then of course you're going to be hanging around with secular Jews and not religious ones who would not want to have anything to do with you anyway, or anything to do with Jews they regard as heretics. So who is really more powerful? We know that names like George Soros and Jeffrey Epstein, and all these famous names of assimilated Jews who are prominent within the Western political establishment, would be perceived as more powerful than Orthodox religious Jews, whose rabbis most of you have probably not heard of. But I guess if God exists, then he would know. He would prefer the observant Jew to the secular, assimilated, liberal Jew, and he would be sending to the worst place the heretical Jew. But then we, and probably Jews themselves, do not know from one moment to the next whether they believe in God or not. If you look at the behavior of so many people when they go around committing crimes, why do you think they do that? I think we can deduce that when a criminal commits a crime, he doesn't really expect to get caught. He thinks he's going to get away with it. And we can deduce from the fact that he thinks he's going to get away with it with lack of belief in the legal system or the all-seeing eye of God that will punish him. So I think this is a problem with both Jews and Gentiles. They don't know from one moment to the next whether they believe in God. And because they don't, their actions are confused. So on one occasion, they might act as if they believed in God and even talk as if they believed in God. And on another occasion, they say a completely different thing. I know many people like that. They even call themselves agnostic. So I guess they don't really know what they're on about. And the only sensible conclusion to be made from all this is that they themselves don't know if they believe in an afterlife. So I guess if they remember to do it, they will pretend that they are, believing Jews, Christians, or Muslims, and pretend to believe in the hope of obtaining a higher status. And that is understandable. Now, back to the question of machine lies about who a Jew is. So if you're an Orthodox Jew, you would have to go by the definition of Orthodox Jews, and it is to say that you're a Jew if your mother is a Jew. And if only your father is a Jew, it doesn't count. So you may know that Orthodox Jews, if they take their religion seriously, will not be marrying anyone who isn't already a Jew. And if there is a bit of a problem over the status of the mother, then the mother will have to convert. After the marriage. So I can think of an example of a mother, a convert to Judaism. So there was a question about her conversion, and she had 2 children. And the first one, because there was some doubt over her status, did not. The first child had to go through the process of conversion because there was some doubt over the status of the mother on whether she's Jewish. So because they take their religion seriously, both the mother and the firstborn had to undergo a conversion process. But with the second child, obviously the same situation no longer applied. So the second child did not have to convert, to go through the lessons and whatever they have to do for the conversion process. So there is a definite distinction between the two. So it's important to bear that in mind, that Orthodox Jews are very take these definitions and satisfying the requirements very seriously. So I think, I think it's only fair to make the distinction between a secular Jew and a religious Jew, because their outlook would be completely different from each other. So, and this is the same with Gentiles, obviously. If you really believed in God, then you would, give up all kinds of sins, usually of a sexual nature, because you really believe that you're going to be punished. So you don't do them. While an atheist Jew will think, YOLO, and I would be foolish. The Jew would think I would be foolish to pass up any opportunities to have sex with, people I'm not married to. So their sexual behavior will be markedly different. Of course, it is possible for an Orthodox Jew to pretend to believe in God, but in fact break all the rules in secret. So just because somebody claims to be a religious Jew doesn't mean that they really believe or that their behavior is necessarily better than a secular Jew. But how is one's morality to be measured? I guess it will be, a matter of fact, really, about, how many rules, how many of God's laws are flouted in the lifetime of the average believer. So the common wisdom is that if you really believed, then you would be obeying as many of the laws as you can. But if you don't, if you're just pretending to be an adherent of a religion you don't believe in order to enjoy the benefits of being a member of a powerful religious group, then you're more likely to sin, and sin without conscience, because you don't believe that God exists to punish you for your sins in this life or the next. So, on the question of Jews being responsible for all kinds of ills that anti-Semites like to accuse them of, we should, of course, make sure that whatever we accuse of somebody, we have to judge them fairly, because the idea is that if we don't judge other people fairly, we will very likely ourselves suffer unfair judgment, on our own behaviour. So, what is the fairest way to look at a group? And I'm saying, obviously you have to put them into different groups, right? I mean, it would be, very unfair to say that, all men are rapists, for example, just because all rapists are men. But then that would only be true depending on how you define rape. So rape, from what I can remember of the law that I learned when I was learning the law, is defined as sexual intercourse without consent, and the penetration of the vagina or other orifice with the penis. So, is that right? Even I know. Okay, I know they widened the definition of rape. I guess I can look it up for you. But you see, when people change the meanings of important words, they change a lot of things as well, because it has a knock-on effect on all kinds of things, such as whether all rapists are men. So statutory rape is also rape, because even though the underage person appeared to consent, the consent was not valid. I'm leading up to talking about the grooming gangs, obviously, but let us, for the moment, stick with Jews and talk about the righteous ones and the unrighteous ones. So the idea of righteousness is, in my view, following their religious principles. So there you are. You have Jews who are supposed to observe the Sabbath and, whatever they're supposed to do. The righteous Jew will do these things, and the unrighteous Jew will not do these things. So the distinction is easily made. So if these Jews who call themselves secular, or whose father is a Jew but not his mother, well, they're not even Jews. But the fact is, the definition of who is a Jew has been challenged in the UK, because of some because of schools' admissions. So, from what I can remember, there was this Jewish free school, and it was obviously oversubscribed. And then, in the fight for spaces, understandably, some Orthodox Jewish parents said, "Look, we are the real Jews. We are the, proper, kosher, qualified Jews, because the child in question has two Jewish parents. So, and anyone who isn't shouldn't come to our school, because should be allowed to attend the school, because, well, they don't belong." So you can imagine someone who said, "Well, I'm Jewish, or my child is Jewish because the mother is Jewish, even though the father isn't, because that is the halakhic definition of who is a Jew." And then, um, a child who only has one Jewish parent, and but the Jewish parent in question is not male, sorry, is male and not female, then you would say that this child with only a Jewish father is lower on the pecking order than a child with a Jewish mother but with a Gentile father. So this is how the Holocaust would consider it, but because some assimilated Jews decided to take the school to court, it is now interpreted as a child with a Jewish father is also deemed to be a Jew. But this is not the religious understanding of who is a Jew. So I hope I have answered the question of machine reasonably well, in a way that I hope no rabbi will disagree with. But now that we have talked about who is a Jew, we have to go on to ask ourselves if Jews control the world, which a lot of anti-Semites like talking about. You see, words are very words can be interpreted in a narrow or wide way, and sometimes when it suits us, we want to define the word narrowly, and other times when it suits us, we want to define the word in a broad way. And sometimes within the same sentence we can do both, and this causes um, inconsistencies and confusion. And because obviously some Jews are good and some Jews are bad, as with Gentiles of different religions, they will the judgment of a Gentile on Jews will depend on his standpoint. So if he's an anti-Semite, he will just concentrate on all the bad things Jews have done and ignore the good stuff. And a Philosemite would obviously concentrate on all the good things that he thinks Jews have done and ignore the bad side. So we need to take a balanced view. But we also know that, just as with Jews, Gentiles are not all the same, and some are good and some are not so good. How can we tell the difference? And this is where religion comes in, because without religion, there will be no religious principles. Without religious principles, we would have no rules by which to judge each other's behavior. So, for example, with the no-hide laws, uh, if if anyone were to break those no-hide laws, then we would know they are not a righteous Gentile. How are the no-hide laws useful in measuring the moral integrity of a Jew? And I'm saying it's also useful in measuring the moral integrity of the Jew, because it is only honest and rational Jews concerned about their position and their um, responsibilities towards the Gentile who would say, yes, we are supposed to teach you the no-hide laws, and yes, Christianity is idolatry, and yes, Islam is the most no-hide of all Gentile religion. Then that would be a start. If we could just find a Jew prepared to say that, and yes, make this frank admission that Christianity is bottom of the heap and Islam is top of the tree. But they won't do it because they know that it is the Christian Zionists who support the state of Israel. So they are conflicted, and because they don't know what to do for the best, they refuse to say it. And if ever they blurted out the truth, they will deny that they have said it. So this is a problem. So how do we know if Jews are responsible for the ills they are accused of? And basically, the anti-Semitic Gentile will scapegoat Jews for their bad government and say, oh, look at the Jews, they are privileged by our government, and this means that these Jews must have somehow made their governments privilege them. And what is privilege anyway? Are Jews better treated than Gentiles by Western governments? The perception, I suppose, is yes, because there are more Gentiles around prepared to support that opinion. But how are we to measure who is more powerful? So the conversation I had with Machine Lies a few days ago was that because Jews control the media, they are objectively more powerful than Muslims. And I challenged him on this view because I said, how does he know that Jews control the media? Because there are, well, lots of Gentiles control the media. And if If people are objecting to the values or narratives being promoted by Western media, to what extent are they actually Jewish? And if their problem is that they see, Jewish commentators and anchormen and that sort of people being overrepresented, to what extent is Judaism to blame? Or Jews, even? I mean, you could say that Jews who are noticed are in prominent positions in Western society, aren't they just being the servants of American imperialism? I mean, aren't our Gentile politicians just, kowtowing to the neocons? And don't the neocons want to hang on to Israel? And do these people who are Jewish, are they acting as righteous Jews or unrighteous Jews? And I think the answer is pretty obvious. And this could also transfer to sex predators running child prostitution rings who come from a Pakistani heritage background. So are these are these are these child prostitution rings being run for Islamic reasons or not? And I would say no. I mean, I don't think any sane person has ever said there are no criminals in Jewry, in Christendom, um, in the Ummah, because, as we all know, rules are made to be broken. The fact that they exist are there means that they are there to tell us who is on the right side of the law. So nobody is claiming that they're the members of their religious group are better than all the others, and if they are, they can't really prove it. So I mean, basically, I'm just looking for an objective measure of sex offending, I guess. So, and again, we come we come up against a difficulty of what is a sexual offence, and the only objective way of answering this is, well, a sexual offence is whatever God says it is. So how do we know if somebody has committed a sexual offence? Obviously, two gay men are not going to rat on each other, but I'm saying the most obvious way of determining whether somebody has committed a sexual offence in a open and shut way would be when unmarried parents have illegitimate offspring without a marriage license. I mean, this is so open and shut. I mean, it can't be, yes or no, maybe. If you have offspring without a marriage license, then they're illegitimate. They're illegitimate, and therefore you are a sex offender. And if that is accurately reported and recorded, then we'd all know. We'd all know what's happening. And I'm saying any society that condones unmarried parenthood will have all kinds of corruption and social problems, which the West does. So, this is obviously the problem. And to blame Muslims or Jews is, well, really passing the buck. I mean, to the extent that Jews are, can be blamed, it would be because they never ranked the four Gentile religions according to their conformity with the Noahide laws. And to the extent that Muslims can be said to be objectively to blame, you can say that at no point in their 1400-year history did they ever officially and on record obey chapter 18, verse 4 of the Quran, which commands them to admonish those who claim that God has begotten the Son. So these omissions, these long-standing, centuries-old omissions, can be quickly remedied through social media. In fact, it can be done on X. So, when enough rabbis who are already on Twitter rank the four Gentile religions according to their conformity with the Noahide laws, we can take it that they've done their bit. And then when Muslims on X ask the Pope and the Archbishop of Canterbury and the British monarch how Christianity is not idolatry and how Jesus is God, then that could be said to be a time when finally Jews and Muslims perform their religious obligation, which they have not done for so many centuries. And when they do it, when these Jews and Muslims finally do it, and it's so easy, then things will start to change. And this is my recommendation. What does Joe say? TML thinks, who is TML? Thinks the ancient Greeks weren't Europeans and that Thomas Aquinas wasn't. Oh, I don't even know what that's on about. Okay, so I've said what I wanted to say. So the answer to that question is no. Jews cannot be conclusively proven to be running the world because it is actually the Americans who are the ones with their global empire. So you could easily say that it's the Americans. Americans run the global, run the bank, run Hollywood. They run, the banks. They run the media, etc. So, the only way to reconcile these two competing claims is to say that Jews are the servants of the American empire. Now, is the American empire a good thing? Well, yes and no. It could be a good thing if it chooses to correct itself, because when it does finally correct itself, people will take notice. And so I hope that my recommendations will be followed, and when they are, things will change. In the same way that, how does it go? A butterfly flapping its wings can cause a storm, something like that. I'm a bit vague. It's just popped into my head that somebody said that. So thank you for your attention. I hope this is all reasonably clear.